12 deaths, one more savage than the last. Some were torn apart, some burned alive, some made to suffer before the crowd until mercy itself disappeared. Stay until the end, because the worst one is almost impossible to believe. Number 12. The Halifax Gibbet victims. In Halifax, West Yorkshire, a market town was executing thieves with a machine more than a century before France made the guillotine infamous. The Halifax Gibbet is recorded at least as early as 1286, and its last executions came in 1650. Under Halifax law, stealing goods worth 13.5 pence could put you beneath the blade. The device was brutally simple. Wooden uprights held a heavy axe blade over a bleak stone platform. The condemned placed their neck below it. A rope or pin let the blade drop. Crowds watched punishment become machinery. By 1792, France would turn mechanical execution into a symbol of revolution. Halifax had already finished its work 142 years earlier. A replica still stands there today. Number 11. Girolamo Savonarola. They burned the body, then threw the ashes into the Arno River, so no follower could keep a bone, a relic, or a shrine. Only then does the case file name him. Girolamo Savonarola, Dominican preacher, was executed in Florence on May 23, 1498, in Piazza della Signoria. He had denounced indulgences, simony, and the luxury of Rome, and he had backed the French king when papal politics demanded obedience. Pope Alexander VI had excommunicated him. It was not enough. Florence hanged him, burned him, and used the public square as a verdict. This was the same piazza where Savonarola's bonfire of the vanities had consumed books and mirrors. Now the fire answered him. Number 10. Jean Calas. Jean Calas was punished on the wheel, strangled, and burned for an alleged crime that never happened. In Toulouse, France, in 1761, the Protestant cloth merchant found his son, Marc-Antoine Calas, lifeless in the family home. The authorities claimed he had caused his son's passing to stop a conversion to Catholicism, yet there was no eyewitness, and the judges voted 8-5 to convict. On March 10, 1762, the court made that suspicion into a public fatal sentence. Voltaire took up the case, and his treatise on tolerance in 1763 put Calas before Europe as Exhibit A in anti-Protestant injustice. In 1765, Calas was posthumously rehabilitated. The verdict came too late, but it exposed how fear can turn a court into a weapon. Number 9. Catherine Hayes. Witnesses said Catherine Hayes cried out as the flames rose, because the strangling meant to end her life first was not finished in time. On May 9, 1726, at Tyburn in London, she was executed for petty treason after the fatal attack on her husband John Hayes, with Thomas Billings and Thomas Wood. That charge mattered. Under English law, a wife who caused the loss of her husband's life was not judged as an ordinary offender, but as someone attacking her legal superior. So Hayes was not merely hanged. She was taken to the stake. The law made the method itself part of the sentence. In her case, that brutality was exposed in full view, her cries turning a legal hierarchy into a scene no witness was likely to forget. Number 8. Hugh Despenser the Younger. They cut Hugh Despenser the Younger down alive so the sentence could keep working. On November 24, 1326, in Hereford, England, the hated favorite of King Edward II faced the revenge of Queen Isabella and Roger Mortimer. Despenser had seized noble estates, helped exile the contrariants, and strangled access to the king until enemies saw him as the lock on Edward's rule. After Isabella and Mortimer invaded England, that lock was broken. In public, Despenser was dragged through the streets, hanged, castrated, disemboweled, beheaded, and quartered. His head went to London Bridge, where barons, merchants, and royal servants entering the city passed beneath the message. Law supplied the words, Hereford supplied the warning. Number 7. Peter Niers. Peter Niers passed away over 3 days at Neumarkt in der Oberpfalz. The sentence moved in stages, with severe physical punishment, heated oil applied to injuries, feet burned, limbs broken on the breaking wheel, then final quartering. He had been a German bandit leader in the late 1500s, captured in 1581 near Neumarkt, Bavaria, in the Holy Roman Empire. Contemporary pamphlets accused him of causing the loss of hundreds of lives, including children and pregnant women, though those totals shifted wildly and were likely inflated. The charges did not stop at fatal violence. They added black magic, invisibility, and rituals using unborn children. You can see why the story spread. Niers became a warning carved into public punishment, where crime, rumor, and terror all met the wheel. Number 6. Balthasar Gérard. They burned Balthasar Gérard's right hand first, the hand that fired the shot. 4 days earlier, on July 10, 1584, he had taken the life of William I of Orange, known as William the Silent, inside the Prinsenhof in Delft, where the bullet holes are still visible in the wall today. On July 14th, Delft watched the punishment become a lesson in state terror. Red-hot iron seared his hand, pincers tore at his flesh, salt and vinegar were forced into the wounds. Then executioners heated iron boots and strapped them to his feet. They opened his body, removed his heart, and quartered it. The message was not hidden in a decree. It was written in public on the assassin's body. Number 5. François Ravaillac. 4 horses pulled in 4 directions, and it still was not enough. This was the punishment imposed on François Ravaillac, the man who assassinated King Henry IV of France on May 14, 1610, inside the royal carriage on the Rue de la Ferronnerie in Paris. 13 days later, on May 27, 1610, officials brought him to the Place de Grève, Paris's great public execution ground. They burned his right hand, tore his flesh with red-hot pincers, then poured molten lead, boiling oil, burning resin, wax, and sulfur into the wounds. His limbs were tied to 4 horses and quartered. When the horses failed, executioners cut joints and tendons. France made the body a message: take the king's life, and death alone would not be enough. Number 4. Robert-François Damiens. The horses could not pull Robert-François Damiens apart. That failure came at the end of France's answer to a small knife wound. On January 5, 1757, at Versailles, Damiens attacked King Louis XV. The king survived. The wound was relatively minor. The charge was attempted regicide, and the reaction was immediate. Authorities arrested people around him, hunted for accomplices, and rushed the case into a public lesson. On March 28, 1757, at the Place de Grève in Paris, red-hot pincers tore flesh from his breast, arms, thighs, and calves. Sulfur burned the knife hand. Molten lead, boiling oil, pitch, wax, and sulfur followed. When the horses failed, blades finished the work. The state wrote its warning in a body. Number 3. Ishikawa Goemon. Goemon stood in an iron cauldron in Kyoto, his young son above the boiling water, while firewood caught beneath him. The year was 1594. The charge was an attempt to assassinate Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the warlord who had ended the Sengoku Wars and punished defiance in public. The accounts agree on the sentence: boiled alive, but split on the child. Some say the boy was placed in the cauldron with him. Others say Goemon held him clear for a few last breaths. That uncertainty is part of the terror. Within decades, kabuki stages and ukiyo-e prints fixed the scene in Japan's memory. The black cauldron, the flames, the watching crowd. Goemon died once. The image kept burning. Number 2. György Dózsa. In July 1514, after the peasant revolt was crushed near Temesvar, now Timișoara in Romania, György Dózsa was forced onto a heated iron throne, crowned with red-hot iron, and made to hold a heated scepter while nobles staged a parody of royal ceremony. Some captured followers were allegedly starved and then driven to bite or eat his flesh. The message was deliberate. The Hungarian Diet followed that bloodshed with laws stripping peasants of free movement and binding many serfs to the land. Dózsa's death was not an ending. It was the opening scene of a harsher order, written into law the same year. Number 1. Zhuli. Photographs of Zhuli's lynching punishment circulated across Europe and fixed a harsh image of China in the Western mind for decades. On April 10, 1905, Beijing authorities carried out the sentence against Zhuli after convicting him in the fatal case involving a Mongol prince. The case became one of the best-known photographed examples of lynching, and Fernand Méry and other French observers helped spread the images. Those photographs later appeared in European writing, including Georges Bataille's work on pain and ecstasy, where they served as proof of a punishment meant to terrify. The timing is the chilling part. China abolished lingqi in 1905, the same year Zhuli did not survive before the camera. The punishment ended on paper, but on film, its final image had already been sealed.